reading lesson where we are going to be answering inference questions on George's Marvellous Medicine. So, without further ado, let's share the text so we can get started. Okay, fantastic. Let me make this full screen. So, as you know, we're looking at George's Marvellous Medicine, and we're going to be looking at this book for the next few weeks. Your starter activity today is to complete the sentences by matching the clauses together. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to read this side, so the clauses on this side, and you've got to match them with the matching clause, the correct clause on this side. So what I can do is I can read them all out to you, and then you can match them correctly. So the first one says, during the aftermath of the storm, Wendy had a solemn look on her face. Miss Stefaniak dreaded the month of January. Shivers rippled down my spine. Mr. Parker brought various snacks into school. Timothy looked longingly at the sunshine outside, and you've got to match each of those clauses to the correct one on the other side. As the days were always so dark and short, the wind rattled the loose cans along the road, none of which he shared with the other teachers, whilst he lay ill in bed, and after hearing the bad news about her dog, and finally, as the teacher scraped the powdery chalk against the board. So, pause the video now so that you can match the sentences correctly. And if you don't have the tile sheet to print out, then what you will need to do is you will need to write out the sentences correctly. Okay, so pause the video so that you can do that now. Great, hopefully you've matched them up. So let's see if you are correct. During the aftermath of the storm, the wind rattled the loose cans. I don't know why this does this when I do that. It's very annoying. Let me just log that out. Okay, so during the aftermath of the storm, the wind rattled the loose cans along the road. That's the first one. Wendy had a solemn look on her face after hearing the bad news about her dog. That is right. You know what? We are not going to use this pen anymore. Miss Williams is going to go back the old-fashioned way, and I'm just going to insert lines because I don't know what is going on. I don't know why it keeps doing that. So let me get my shapes up. Okay, so this was the first one. Okay, the second one, I've just also said Wendy had a solemn look on her face after hearing the bad news about her dog. The next one, Miss Stefaniak dreaded the month of January. That is matched to Mrs. Stefaniak dreaded the months of January as the days were always so dark and short. The next one, shivers rippled down my spine, is matched to as the teacher scraped the powdery chalk across the board. You know, sometimes when you're scraping chalk across the board, it makes that really, it's like a horrible screeching noise, and it can make you cringe or shiver. Sometimes I get that. Mr. Parker brought various snacks into school, none of which he shared with the other teachers. How selfish, Mr. Parker. And the last one, Timothy looked longingly at the sunshine outside whilst he lay ill in bed. Poor Timothy, I hope he gets better. So that is the answers for those questions. You can take a good look or pause the video to see if you've got those correct. Okay, moving on, we are going to be reading the text again. If you would like to read it completely by yourself, you're more than welcome to do so. I do not mind you doing that. Otherwise, you can read along with me. Listen to me read some of it. When I say pause the video and read a section by yourself, you have to make sure you pause the video and read that section because there may be an answer on that. Otherwise, when I say join in, make sure you join in with me. As we're reading, we need to make sure we're reading with expression, our voice is loud and clear. Sometimes we're going to be speaking in a high-pitched voice, sometimes we're going to speak in a lower-pitched voice. Okay, so this chapter is chapter 3 and it's called George Begins to Make the Medicine. George took an enormous stewing pot out of the cupboard and placed it on the kitchen table. George, came the shrill voice from the next room. What are you doing? We're going to read this bit together, so join in with me from here. Nothing, Grandma, he called out. You needn't think I can't hear you just because you closed the door. You're rattling the pots and pans. I'm just tidying the kitchen, Grandma. Then there was silence. George had absolutely no doubt whatsoever about how he was going to make his famous medicine. Okay, I'm going to read this bit by myself here. He wasn't going to fall about wondering whether to put a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Quite simply, he was going to put everything he could find. There would be no messing about, no hesitating, No wondering whether a particular thing would knock the old girl sideways or not. The rule would be this: whatever he saw, if it was runny, powdery or gooey, it went in. Nobody had ever made a medicine like that before. If it didn't actually cure Grandma, then it would anyway cause some exciting results. It would be worth watching. Let's join in together here. George decided to work his way around the various, one of our key words, rooms one at a time and see what they had to offer. He would go first to the bathroom. There are always lots of funny things in a bathroom. So upstairs he went, carrying an enormous two-handled pot before him. You are going to read this whole paragraph all by yourself and then play the video again once you've done that. Great work. Let's continue. I'm going to read this bit by myself. Number 1 was a bottle labelled Golden Gloss hair shampoo. He emptied it into the pot. That ought to wash her tummy nice and clean, he said. Let's read this next part together. He took a full tube of toothpaste and squeezed out the whole lot of it in one long worm. Maybe that will brighten up those horrid brown teeth of hers, he said. There was an aerosol can of Superfoam shaving soap belonging to his father. George loved playing with aerosols. Okay, I'm going to get you to read this bit by yourself. So from he pressed the button and kept his all the way to face cream. So play the video once you've done that. In went a small bottle of scarlet nail polish. If the toothpaste doesn't clean her teeth, George said, then this will paint them red as roses. And I'm still reading by myself. He found another jar of creamy stuff labelled hair remover. Smear it on your legs, it said, and allow it to remain for 5 minutes. George tipped it all into the pot. And let's read this part together. There was a bottle with yellow stuff inside it called Dishworth's famous dandruff cure. In it went. There was something called Brilliant for cleaning false teeth. It was a white powder. In that went too. He found another aerosol can. Nevermore Pongin deodorant spray. Guaranteed, it said, to keep away unpleasant body smells for a whole day. She could use plenty of that, George said as he sprayed the entire canful in the stewing pot. You're going to read this next part by yourself. So all the way from liquid paraffin, you're going to read 2 paragraphs up to aerosols and play the video once you've done that. There was a bottle of perfume, and let me use my laser pen. There was a bottle of perfume called Flowers of Turnips. It smelled of old cheese. In it went, and in too went a large round box of powder that was called Pink Plaster. There was a powder puff on top, and he threw that in as well for luck. He found a couple of lipsticks. He pulled the greasy red things out of their little cases and added them to the mixture. Let's read this last part together. The bedroom had nothing more to offer, so George carried the enormous pot downstairs again and trotted into the laundry room, where the shelves were full of all kinds of household items. The first one he took down was a large box of Super White for automatic washing machines. Dirt, it said, will disappear like magic. George didn't. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to answer inference questions. Inference questions require you to read the text for clues. Once you've found the clues in the text, you've then got to pair it with your own knowledge to find the answers. The answers are not going to be explicitly stated in the text. You really have to look for clues and find them. So the steps to success for this is to underline the keywords in the question and then read the text to look for clues and pair those clues with your own knowledge, and then you can answer the question in full sentences. Okay, so I'm going to model exactly how that is going to be done. So let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm just going to share it with the camera. Just bear with me. Okay, so let me, there we go, my camera. Oh, and I have my steps to success here to help me find the answer. So first thing I've got to do is underline the keywords in the question. So I'm going to read the first question. It says he would first go to the bathroom. There are always lots of funny things in a bathroom, page 14. And the question says, in the extract, the word funny is closest in meaning to Amusing, interesting, or useful. So I've got to find the answer. So I'm looking for the word funny and what it's closest in meaning to. And I know I've got to look for that on page 14. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to page 14 and I'm going to read that extract where that bit is and see what the word funny means in that context. So let's go back. I'm going to go back to page 14 because that's the page where our answer is on. And I know that that bit is down here. So it says, George decided to work his way around the various rooms one at a time to see what they had to offer. He would go first to the bathroom. There are always lots of funny things in the bathroom. Now, let's look again at the options of the answers that I can choose. So if I go back to my writing, it says one of the options is amusing. I don't think it means hilarious or amusing in that way. I don't think they're talking about something being laughable. I don't think he means it like that. He says there are lots of funny things in the bathroom. Could that mean interesting? I do think it could mean interesting because it could be interesting things that could be used to put in the medicine. Or does it mean useful? Well, there are lots of useful things in the bathroom, but he's not actually using them for their purpose. For example, he's not using the shampoo to wash his hair, and he's not using the brilliant white paste to actually clean his teeth or dentures. He needs them to put them in the medicine. So I think the word funny is closest in meaning to interesting. So I'm just going to underline interesting and tick that. Okay, but do you see how I've gone through each of the words and tried to see if it would work in the context of the sentence? So that was the me question. We're going to do this next question together. So I need you to join in with me. The question says, why did George use his fingers to scoop out the vitamin-enriched face cream on page 17? So I've got to underline the keywords in the question. So I know we're looking for, who are we looking for? Who are we talking about in this question? Who is the subject? George. And what did George do? What did he do? He's using his fingers to scoop out the vitamin-enriched face cream. So now I'm looking for vitamin-enriched face cream. That's what we're looking for. So we're looking for why did he use his fingers? Now the answer may not explicitly be in the text, but I've got to read the text, look for clues and pair it with my own knowledge. So again, we're going to go back to the text and we're going to find out exactly why he used his fingers. So it says the answer's on page 17, so I'm going to go back to page 17. And let's make it full screen. Okay, so it says a wonderful mountain of white foam built up in a giant pot. With his fingers, he scooped out the contents of a jar of vitamin-enriched face cream. Now, why did he scoop it out with his fingers? Why did he not use something else to scoop it out? So now that I've read the text and looked for clues, and I can see that the clues is that he used his fingers to scoop out the contents of the jar. I know he's got a pot with him, the big pot. Maybe he hasn't got any other tools. What do you think at home? Can you help me? Why do you think George used his fingers to scoop out the vitamin-enriched face cream? Let's go back to my answer. So now I'm going to pair the clues with my own knowledge. Well, the only reason why he would possibly use his fingers, maybe if he didn't have the correct tools, so maybe he didn't have a spoon to scoop it out or a spatula. Maybe it was just easier and quicker to scoop it out with his fingers. In the text, I haven't read it. I know that he doesn't actually have a spoon with him, so he scooped it out with his fingers as he didn't have a tool to use to scoop it out. So let's put this into a full sentence now. Why did George use his fingers to scoop out the vitamin-enriched face cream? George used his fingers to scoop out the vitamin-enriched face cream because he didn't have any other tools to help him do so. And that's what I'm going to write. So using my neatest handwriting, and I'm using the same words in the question. So if the question says, why did George use his fingers? I'm going to say George used his fingers because. So George, capital letter, because it's a proper noun, neat joined up handwriting, used his fingers, I'm going to even make it longer, say what he used his fingers to do, to scoop out the, I'm going to do vitamin enriched face cream because, I remember, what did we say? Why did he use his own fingers to scoop out the vitamin enriched face cream? It's because he didn't have any tools to help him remove the contents of the jar. So I'm going to say George used his fingers to scoop out the vitamin enriched face cream. Here I'm using my own knowledge because he did not have any tools available, comma, that could help him remove the content of the jar. Oops, and I made a little mistake. Cross it out very neatly with one neat line, full stop at the end of my sentence. And don't forget, you need to read your sentences back to check that they make sense. So let's see. George used his fingers to scoop out the vitamin-enriched face cream because he did not have any tools available that could help him remove the content of the jar. Okay, and I'm happy with that. So let's go back to our slides. And what we are going to do is I'm going to read you the questions, the inference questions that you're going to be answering, and then you're going to answer them following the same steps. So question number 1, George told his grandma that he was just tidying the kitchen. Why did he lie? And you can find the answer on page 14. Question number 2, which word best describes how George felt when he went searching for the ingredients? Page 14. Was he happy, focused, or determined? Remember to follow the steps to success to find the answers. Pause the video and do that now. Let's move on. Question number 3. Why was George gazing longingly at the medicine cupboard? The answer is on page 15. Question number 4. Why would the shampoo make Grandma's tummy clean? You can find the answer on page 16. Again, remember to follow the steps. Pause the video so you can do that now. Question number 5. George stated that Grandma could use plenty of the Nevermore Ponging deodorant spray. Explain what he meant by that. You can find the answer for that on page 18. Pause the video so you can do that now. And lastly, your challenge is to write a short paragraph explaining how George's grandma would feel if she found out what George was doing. So imagine Grandma walked in on George making his marvellous medicine. You're writing a paragraph explaining how she would feel if she had seen what George was up to. So pause the video and do that now. And make sure you check your answers, get them ready because we're going to be going through them now. Okay, so question number 1. George told his grandma that he was just tidying the kitchen. Why did he lie? Well, George told his grandma that he was tidying the kitchen because he didn't want her to find out what he was really doing. Which word best describes how George felt when he went searching for the ingredients? The answer was on page 14, and I would say determined. Remember, he talks about he doesn't matter what or where it was, he was just going to put it in, no matter what it looked like. And he would go exploring in the bathroom and then other rooms. So he was very determined to find as many different ingredients that he could put into his medicine. Question 3, why was George gazing longingly at the medicine cupboard? George gazed longingly at the medicine cupboard because he wanted to look inside, although he didn't want to seriously harm Grandma. Remember, his parents told him that there were things in the medicine cupboard that were strong enough to actually kill a person. He didn't want to do that. He just wanted to cure her of her meanness. Question number 4, why would the shampoo make Grandma's tummy clean? I just remembered if I put there. Yeah, so why would the shampoo make Grandma's tummy clean? George thought that the shampoo would clean Grandma's tummy, as shampoo is used to clean hair, usually. Question number 5. George stated that Grandma could use plenty of the Nevermore Ponging deodorant spray. Explain what that meant. Well, George was insinuating, and insinuating means suggesting, but without actually saying it. So George was insinuating that his grandma smelt, which is why she would need the Nevermore Ponging deodorant spray. Apologies, I should put another E in there. That says Ned right now. She wouldn't Ned, she would need the Nevermore Ponging deodorant spray. So double check your answers, and then you can upload them onto Seesaw for your teachers to see so we can mark it and give it back to you. Okay, thank you for watching today's video. I'll see you in tomorrow's one. Bye, year 3.